Good day, friends. This morning, I just read cover to cover this indispensable spiritual booklet, The Golden Key and 22 Additional Essays by Emmet Fox, 1931. Fox lived from 1886 to 1951. Born in Ireland, expatriated to the United States in 1930, New York City. Was in the New Science movement, which was an extension of Christian Science. Fox was also famous for his work, The Sermon on the Mount, in 1934. This booklet comes in at 43 pages, guys, and it is probably the best single work I've read on spirituality that you can literally read in an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're taking notes. So I want to show you my visual interpretation of the book here, and then I'm going to expand on that as throughout this video. But check it out. I'll put up a screenshot here too, a little clearer for you guys. Develop a prayer practice, not just to pray occasionally every once in a while or ask for something, but to actually develop a prayer practice and to think on God rather than oneself and just the mire of our own problems. One of the essays in here is the law of circulation. That's what inspired me to set this out as a circle, because everything continually leads back to the practice of prayer. Blanket statement, just forgive everybody and just drop the burden. In some cases, we let the people go to be free. We're free from them and they're free from us. And that's a huge part of it as well, is just letting go of that weight. As a matter of fact, Fox devotes a chapter to this that's longer than any of the essays in this booklet is on forgiveness. So that's how important that is. And it also shows how difficult that probably is for most of us. And he cites the Lord's Prayer for that, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And he really focuses on that line, is to say, if we're not ready to really feel that line when we're saying it, it's pointless and we should not even say the prayer. And ultimately, we want to go into transcendence, or rising above the mire of our problems and human difficulties, and then back into prayer, back into the practice of prayer. Okay, now let me flesh these points out a little bit here as I've outlined in the diagram. Number one, to pray and think of God as a practice. As we're entering prayer and working out our problems, to set about to, as a blanket statement, to forgive everybody. When we can start thinking about any resentment or misgiving, they can start to add up. We can make a list of them. Well, just as a blanket statement, just to forgive everybody and just be done with it. I really like how he kind of advocates for that, because there's always something or someone else to be resentful about. And if we can just let that all go, we're in a better position to reach the next level. Let God guide the plan. Rather than us forcing our will on life. Now, to be sure, we have to plan, but Fox warns against outlining, or you might say micromanaging, every little thing in our lives. Rather, through prayer, things become apparent as far as the path, as far as the plan. It all goes back to the practice of prayer. And then thoughts become action, substituting negative thoughts for positive ones. Eliminate excuses and obstacles in our thought and speech. He even goes as far as to say, there's a couple interesting essay titles here. What is your because? And treat the treatment. In both of those essays, Fox warns against how we put up excuses or obstacles to our goals. We get too caught up in ourselves in thought, in our own thought, and in speech, even how we communicate with each other. If we're making excuses or saying how, things don't go right in the world, or victim mentality, those are just sabotaging things, and we need to do away with those. Letting God guide the plan creates dreams and goals. When we listen to that voice from within, the goals and dreams are created, and excuses or obstacles that come in the way of that are antithetic to achieving those goals and dreams. And Fox advocates to protect and nurture and hold on to those dreams. He even goes as far as to say that when we have those things we're working on that we know are channeled through us, through that divine source, through God, to keep them to ourselves, to keep those plans to ourselves, and let our works that manifest do the talking when they're realized. But to go around announcing them to everybody, he argues, is potentially undermining those goals and dreams, or sabotaging them. Just focus on the path basically until we get there. So I got a lot from this booklet, The Golden Key, and I highly recommend it, particularly if you don't want to spend a lot of time reading something that takes days, hours, weeks, months, years to read. You can read this thing in an hour and a half. It's very well reviewed. Emmet Fox relies heavily on Christianity, the teachings and the work of Jesus Christ, of course, in the Gospels. And having said that, it's all, you basically get a crib notes course on how to implement the golden key. And again, the key isn't something you force in the lock. It also gets jammed. That's used as a metaphor in here. But it's put in easily. And the golden key, through the practice of prayer, will help us to live the best spiritual lives possible, and to access the deeper, higher, transcendent realities that are available to us if we choose to follow that path. And of course, that takes practice. It's not something we just click in and out of willy-nilly, or we can do that, but the real rewards are seen when we implement the golden key and those teachings in our lives on a day-to-day basis. I look forward to reading your comments below about the golden key, or particularly your own spiritual path going through these times that we're in, of staying at home, sheltering in place. And I'm recording this video on the eve of Easter.